Be careful.
You kill a man in his own house. That's fine. I should what? I should what?
Well, those are images from the ongoing Ayawaso West Wuogon by-election. So far, 6 people have been hospitalized after they sustained gunshot wounds at Bauleshi. One is currently in critical condition at the 37 Military Hospital. The other injured persons are at the Legon Hospital. Continuous gunfire was heard from the premises of the NDC candidate Delali Brimpong, prompting checks by the police and the executives of the NDC. He is reported to have locked himself indoors to prevent any attacks on him by certain individuals who stormed his house a few minutes after voting started. Member of Parliament for Prampram Sam George was seen being given 2 slaps from an unknown security operative at Bauleshi. The incident has brewed a lot of tension in the area. National Chairman of the NDC, Samuel Ofosu-Ampofo, has since announced the withdrawal of the party from the ongoing election to avoid any further attacks on their members.
Ladies and gentlemen of the media, you are all here and you have witnessed the bizarre situation we find ourselves in. Our candidate is almost held hostage, and ever since the voting started, the candidate has not been able to move out of his residence. His residence was attacked. Our agents and some of our boys have been shot at. I have just returned from the Legon Hospital, where 6 of our boys, who are party agents and some of them accredited observers, were shot at. Some of them have broken bones. Some of them are seriously injured. And as I speak to you now, they are preparing to move 2 of the injured persons to the 37 Military Hospital. That should tell you the extent of the damage. We have observed that in elections like this, the Ghana Police Service are supposed to deploy and provide security. Contrary to that, we have seen people in attire of national security, almost 10 at every polling station. And what they are doing, shooting indiscriminately, attacking people and intimidating people. Nobody has been killed. Please, you cannot move out. We have weighed the situation. Some of the people, including our sitting member of parliament, Honorable Sam George, has been attacked. There is serious intimidation. And as a party, we believe in rule of law. We have been in by-elections before, and we don't think that we are on a war zone. But this by-election has been turned into a war zone. We are peaceful, loving people, and we are law-abiding party. We cannot subject any of our members to danger because of elections. In the circumstances, I have conferred with the parliamentary candidate and the leadership of the NDC. We have no option than to withdraw from the ongoing exercise. We are therefore using this opportunity to direct all party agents at various polling stations to withdraw and report at the Center for Conflict Resolution, CENCO, which is at, yes, we want them to report there for further directives. The NDC has officially withdrawn from the by-election for security reasons, intimidation by invisible forces who have been given national security uniforms and who are intimidating, shooting, and maiming people. That is the position that we have taken. And we have the support of our parliamentary candidate who thinks that his own life is not safe and cannot even move out of his house. If the parliamentary candidate cannot move out of his house, then we see no reason why anybody at all should kill himself because of this by-election. The NDC has officially withdrawn from the by-election. Thank you.
No, Chairman, you say he's under house arrest. Why is he under house arrest?
If shooting has taken place, and about 6 people are now in hospital, some of them in critical condition, I don't think that a parliamentary candidate will be willing to continue this exercise again. We are going to the hospital with the parliamentary candidate to take care of the injured.
Let's get the latest on the hospitalized persons from my colleague Maxwell Agbagba. He has been speaking to the Legon Hospital Administrator. Maxwell, describe the state of those you've seen.
Well, Daniel, a lot of them came here in blood-stained, clothes. We saw some of them, who've been hospitalized on hospital beds, here. A lot of them with bandages, some of them with plasters on their heads, their hands, and all of that. When we spoke to the administrator of the hospital, he mentioned to us that a total of 7 people were brought to the facility. 6 of them are still receiving treatment here at the Legon Hospital. 1 of them has been transferred to the 37 Military Hospital because he is in a critical condition. That is what we were told by the administrator, of the Legon Hospital, Eric Gazy. But when we stepped outside, we saw, about 5 more men who had just arrived at the hospital who are also coming, to receive treatment. So the official figure that we got from the Legon Hospital is 7. But the number could be more because we saw additional people outside who were also coming here to receive treatment because they say that they were also assaulted on the ground of the election, Daniel.
What was their state, these persons who had just come and were outside?
Well, they had varied, degrees of injuries. One of the men that I spoke to actually had cuts, many cuts on his head, and he said the men, the people, the attackers, actually used their gun stock, the butt of their gun, to hit his head many times. He said they were just at the residence of the parliamentary candidates when the people stormed the residence and then asked them to give them their mobile phones. When they refused to do that, then they started, attacking them. So a lot of them have cuts on their head. Cuts, they claim, were from, the gun stock that were used in hitting, their heads. We've also seen pictures of people who are unable to walk because they sustained, were told, sustained gunshots, wounds. We saw blood splattered on the floor when we visited the scene of the incident. Just some minutes ago, about 30 minutes ago, the parliamentary candidate for the NDC, the Lalikwesi Brempon, actually left this place, and he described the incident as barbaric. He wouldn't speak further. He said he'll be addressing a press conference later in the day, Daniel.
Maxwell, finally, in engaging these people, did they say what role they were playing exactly there? Were they observers? Were they party agents? Or they were just party members?
Well, the victims, some of the victims that I spoke to told me that they were there collecting food. And they were actually taking the food so they can deliver it to their various polling agents, on the ground. So they were picking the food from the residence of the parliamentary candidate when the men actually stormed the place. They claim that they are not police officers and are saying that a lot of them were in mufti. They were not police officers. Let's just leave it at that, Daniel.
Thanks, Maxwell Agbagba, for bringing us the latest on the status of these hospitalized persons. Now, the NDC has been addressing the press in reaction to the latest developments. Here's Samuel Ofosu Ampofo again, the national chairman of the NDC. He wants the police to up their game.
It's only on general elections that because of the numbers, the police had to be accompanied or supported by other security agencies. Our observation this morning is that there were heavy deployment of security in various polling stations, and those security men were neither police nor military. They were wearing black t-shirts and they were hanging national security tags around their necks. We also realized that there were heavily armed security people who are wearing masks. And we have not seen in any election situation where security agencies will wear masks and come to polling stations. We started getting calls of intimidation and attacks on our party agents and our party national monitoring officers. As we speak to you now, Honorable Sam George had been beaten up mercilessly and is wounded, and I understand he's been sent to hospital. I just spoke with him and he indicated to me that the butts of guns were used to hit him, and that the video is there for you to see. Number two, yesterday, our National Vice Chairman, Sofo Azoka, without any provocation at all, was attacked in his house at East Legon. And the house was vandalized, and he had to really use experience to save himself. This morning, the parliamentary candidate of the NDC, Honorable Dela Likwesi Brimpo's house, was invaded.
Now, General Secretary of the NPP, John Boedu, has described the chaotic development as a calculated attempt by the opposition to scare away voters. He spoke to the press this morning.
Okay. Are you disappointed we are experiencing these skirmishes in the beginning?
Oh, in an election like this, you have one or two skirmishes like this. I don't think that this should be heightened, said that it will create an impression that there's insecurity. No, there's not.
But there are allegations that some security operatives here are working for your party, Invisible Forces. Those are.
See, these are worn out and outdated allegations that does not help anybody. I don't work with national security. National security have the right to pick anybody to provide them with information to work for them. This is a right of national security. How can I know? How can I know? I don't work for national security. I have my own internal security. As I was coming, these are people that I came with. I don't work for national security.
Comfortable with some of the policemen who have masked themselves in an environment which is not like it's a sweep on a crime scene.
I think that I don't think I can dictate to the police as to the apparel they should put on. Depending on their own intelligence on the ground, they determine how to dress. And I don't think that if you've not done anything, if you are not coming to cause any commotion, you should be afraid of any police mask in anything. You are all here. Why don't you run away because the police has masks? Put on masks? No, I don't think it is so. They have their. Let us allow the security agency to do their work.
So far, looking at the situation here, what do you tell your people?
I'm just telling them that the situation is calm. Everybody should. You see, this is the impression that opponents want to create in order to scare people from coming to vote. Other than that, what's the problem? Somebody wants to come and vote, is a voter, come around, vote and go home. But our brothers and sisters from the other side always will want to create confusion. When they are in government, when they are in government, it's worse. Even they are the opposition, that is more difficult.
So are you saying that the alleged shooting did not occur?
Now, Minister of Communications Esther Osu-Ekufo believes their candidate, Lady Seram Al-Hassan, seems to be sending shivers down the spines of her opponent in the contest. A possible cause of the reports of confusion she is hearing so far.
I can only talk about what I have witnessed and I have seen. I have been to Bawaleshi. We just drove past there. Nothing was happening there. There were a lot of police personnel there, but absolutely nothing was happening there. People were queued up to vote in Bawaleshi. We have been to Abelenkpe, we have been to Mimpasem, and there's nothing, absolutely nothing happening there. We've just come from Grace Presby, where Westlands. Yes, we've just come from there. It is also calm. So I don't know what may have happened behind us. But maybe some people's plans that they put in place aren't quite playing out the way they would have wished. And they've seen the writing on the wall and see that from the demeanor of the people coming out, majority are voting for Madam Lydia Seyram Alassane, who is not... I'm saying maybe. Okay. But because we've spoken to the people after they've cast their ballot, and they've told us, people have hugged her, they've told her that we voted for you, we're looking forward to you becoming our member of parliament. So maybe the NDC has also seen the writing on the wall and decided that instead of waiting for the humiliation that the results would give them, they will pull out now to save face. I don't know. But from the sentiments on the ground, Lydia Seyram Alassane is winning this election by a handsome margin. That is the simple, unofficial, unscientific exit polling that we have conducted on our rounds. And I'm confident.
Let's take you now to the headquarters of the New Patriotic Party NPP. Communications Director Yao Boabing Asamoah and Member of Parliament for Denton is speaking now.
We're naturally worried what was happening. We have gleaned that the security forces, when attempting to investigate the issues, were fired upon. They were fired upon. And so there were counter shots. At this stage, this is what we have been told. And that exchange of gunfire naturally created a bit of hullabaloo and panic in the area. Note that this incident did not happen at a polling station. This incident is an off-polling station incident. That out of the 137 polling stations, the particular incident that the NDC has blown out of proportion and is standing on to tarnish the image of Ghana internationally did not happen at a polling station where voting is going on. It was an off-polling station incident. We therefore appeal for calm. The election is ongoing. It has 4 parties involved: the NPP, the LPG, the PPP, and the NDC. Unfortunately, the NDC leadership appears to have abandoned their responsibilities to their people. They have refused to lead, and in a series of reckless and premeditated actions have decided to throw their part of the election into disarray. We say it's premeditated because the signs were clear. Over 3 days ago, Mr. Otukuno, who is the Deputy General Secretary of the NDC, issued a fiat that as far as they were concerned, the election register was bloated, and therefore, if they didn't have a register of their choice, they were going to pull out of the election. This position was maintained by the NDC as late as yesterday, even after the Electoral Commission had satisfied their requirements. As late as yesterday evening, the NDC insisted that they were going to pull out of this election if their conditions, even though they were not the Electoral Commission, if their conditions as far as the Electoral Register was concerned were not satisfied. Further signs of the premeditated nature of what is going on is that as at 8:30 a.m. this morning, there were several areas in the constituency that did not have NDC agents. Many of us here personally went round. All the polling stations we visited were calm and quiet. If there was anything for concern, it was the level of attendance and the turnout, which we needed to boost by way of people voting before going to work. It would appear people wanted to go to work and come back and vote. It was generally peaceful. And yet, the NDC did not have agents at post as at 8:30 a.m. Then, out of the blue, the NDC leadership alleges killings of people and announces a pullout from the election process in the field. Was there a fake meeting held in the field? Did the NDC leadership meet in the field and have an emergency meeting and decide, as corporate organizations and institutions ought to do, to pull out? No. We believe that if the pullout was announced in the field by no less a person than the chairman of the NDC, then this is a hugely orchestrated attempt to damage an election that they know from the beginning that they are going to lose. The reports on which the pullout was made, let's examine them. My colleague in Parliament, the Honorable Samjata George, and I would love to probably read out what he has put on his Facebook wall. I'm sure all of you have seen it. And I quote him: "I have just been assaulted by several members of MPP Invisible Forces attired in national security colors." How he knew they were invisible forces when they were wearing a dress which is not invisible forces, only he knows, clairvoyant as he is. Now listen. They fired. We are talking about guns here. We are talking about guns and ammunition. They fired several rounds. We all watch movies, don't we? You see what happens when somebody receives several rounds. Pay. You see what happens? They fired several rounds of ammunition and at me. Several rounds of ammunition at me. What was the distance? Were the guns pointed directly at him? Was he facing them? As we speak, Sam George is alive enough to have written on his Facebook page after having been shot severally. He hasn't been to the hospital. We haven't seen any blood on his body. And yet, he's told the whole world that several rounds, and this is coming from an honorable legislator of this country. If this is not orchestrated, then what else could have been orchestrated? If this is not orchestrated, what else could have been orchestrated? Now, after Sam George, you will find that several NDC apparatchiks, including the chairman of Ayawaso West Wagon, tells us that 4 people have been killed on air. 4 people have been killed. Other apparatchiks of the party, and this is all going on off polling station. In a place where there is no voting going on, off polling station, there is no polling station there. We are told by other apparatchiks of the
And that was Communications Director for the NPP, Yabwa Bing Asamoah. He's also a member of Parliament for the Adentan constituency. He basically rubbished the claims made by some members of the NDC, including Sam Jatta George, Member of Parliament for Ningo Pram Pram. Sam George wrote on his Facebook page that some invisible forces clad in national security uniforms fired several rounds at him. He says this is hardly possible since Sam George is alive enough to post on Facebook. He also says that there was actually supposed to be an exchange of gunfire between some NDC activists and members in the home of Delali Kwesi Brimpo, the parliamentary candidate for the NDC, and these national security operatives. He went on to give that explanation. So we are staying with this issue because developments so far as the Ayawaso West Wogon by-election are begging the question, how would the 2020 elections be? Well, for Kofi Boakye, who is the Director General of Police in charge of PIPS, if care is not taken, the next national election could be chaotic and uncontainable if issues regarding vigilantism are not dealt with adequately. He spoke at the 2019 New Year School held 2 weeks ago. Let's hear him.
This vigilantism is something which is clear and present danger to our democracy. And it is escalating. It's not coming down. Because something has not happened. But I can assure you, if we don't sit up, police, political parties, both NDC and MPP, civil society, those who know better, if we all don't sit up, 2020 and beyond will be something explosive, and it can be something that will not be able to contain.
Now, the NPP candidates in the ongoing contest, Lady Aseyram Al-Hassan, has appealed to the delegates to come out and vote in their numbers in order to secure victory for the party in that constituency. She spoke to the media after she cast her vote.
The process has been peaceful. All I'll say is it says the civil rights of all Ghanaians to vote. I'll urge all people of Ayawaso West Wogon to come out and vote. It is our right. Let nobody take that away from you. It is your right. Please come out and vote.
Let's move to the constituency now for the latest on the state of the election. Kwesi Parker Wilson joins us now. Parker, what's the latest with voting? Parker, what's the latest with voting?
What?
Right, Kwesi Parker Wilson is our man on the ground there in the Ayawaso West Wogon constituency. He will be telling us what the latest is with the voting there. Parker, go ahead. Right, we will take we'll go back to the NPP's press conference, which is currently ongoing at the NPP's national headquarters, and we'll go back to Parker Wilson at a later time.
And that the NDC leadership has behaved recklessly, in a cowardly manner. They appear not to have been prepared for the election. This was an orchestrated attempt which has failed. The allegations of a bloated register were not substantiated at any stage. Their preparations in the field were far short of an organization which was prepared to go the full distance. And the demonstrated speed with which they engaged the media on allegations that they had not factually ascertained have exposed the intent of the NDC. And as we always say, they were incompetent in government and they remain incompetent in opposition. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you very much, Director. We are not taking any questions. We are not taking any questions.
It's an ongoing situation. It's
we are not taking any questions. So he will do the tree translation. Thank you.
And that's how that news conference, which just ended as the NPP's headquarters ended, and that was Yabuabin Asamoah, stating clearly that all of this is a ploy by the NDC to cover their tracks after they started out today's by-election unprepared. We'll take a few messages, but before we go, we will show you some scenes from the incidents that started off this entire fracas. This is what happened at the home of Delale Kwesi Brimpong, the parliamentary candidate for the NDC this morning.
This is so wrong on every score, but no matter how long it takes, we will fight. This is so wrong. You kill a man in his own house. His own house. We'll see you guys. We'll see you guys. His own house. In his own house. You kill a man in his own house. That's fine. I should what?
Welcome back. This is still Joy News today with me, Daniel Dazi. We take you back to the Ayawaso West Wogon constituency now, where that by-election is still ongoing. Kwesi Parker Wilson reports from East Legon, the Christian Book Center. Kwesi, what's the latest there?
Right, Daniel, thank you very much. I am here at the Christian Book Center here at the East Legon, around ANC Mall, and as you can see behind me, that's the polling station where the electoral officials are present. Here has been quite slow, and let me say that there is peace at this polling station because we are told by electoral officials that a number of the voters came in early this morning to cast their ballot because they were rushing to their various offices, and that is why they had to come early. But for now, it's been quite slow. You see one or two coming in within a space of about 30 minutes to 1 hour to cast their ballot. But I have with me the presiding officer. Let me quickly engage him briefly to find out the number of voters we are expecting within this polling station, and of course, how many have voted so far. Thank you very much for your time, sir. And let me find out from you, how many voters are you expecting to cast their ballot here?
Oh, we have two centers here. Yeah. In the first center, we have 847, and so far, 105 have voted. In Center B, we have 794, and so far, about 90 has voted.
I see. So I mean, one of the things that I want you to confirm for me is that the NDC has called its party agent to withdraw from the exercise. Can you confirm to me that, in fact, there's no party agent for the NDC here?
Yeah, that is true. In fact, they were here earlier, but when the announcement came, then they informed us, and then they took their leave.
So it wasn't like they wrote a letter, or I mean, they just communicated to you verbally?
Yes, they just communicated verbally. They just communicated verbally before leaving. But when they reported this morning, they came with their letters. So we still have their letters, but they left during the process, yeah.
Okay, and would you also say, I mean, how has the process been so far?
Oh, so far it's been peaceful and it's been smooth. Only that people are not coming in their numbers. But we are hoping that maybe as the sun goes down a bit, people may just come out and vote.
Okay. Thank you very much. So, Daniel, as you heard him, people are not coming in their numbers. It's quite slow here at the Christian Book Center here at East Legon, and that they are expecting that maybe around 3, 4 thereabouts, the voters will come out in the numbers to cast their ballot for their respective parliamentary candidates. And mind you, the ND is no more in the race. So now we have only 3 candidates, the NPP, the LPG, and the PPP, who are in this race.
Thanks, Kwesi Parker Wilson, for that update. And you heard that confirmation there that the NDC has withdrawn its agents from the Christian Book Center polling station at East Legon. Now, Chief Superintendent of the Police, Kwesi Fori, has been speaking to Parker.
I don't think the presence of the police is an intimidation. It's just a measure of telling people that we are in control and we are here to ensure that there's peace.
Now, there's a state of fear as we speak. I mean, some people are saying
the police are here.
No, because of the incident. What happened? Why should policemen must to monitor?
I don't have that information.
At least we have seen a lot of people.
I have not seen that.
Are you suggesting you are not in charge of your men?
I am in charge, but I have not seen any policeman marked. I think we have a lot of policemen here, and I don't think anybody is marked here.
So that suggests that those who came here are not police officers. They are not your men who are
I don't know those who came here.
Do you know the men on the ground?
Something that we need to investigate. But I don't know those who came here. So all my policemen are not marked.
So you know the men on the ground. You know your men on the ground.
I know the men on the ground.
And they are not marked.
And I can see them.
So are they from National Security Office, those who are marked?
I can't tell you that they are from National Security Office. So I can't tell you for now. As I said here, I have not done any investigation. And I wasn't here when the incident happened.
And you say you are going to investigate this matter?
Of course.
I don't
we need to investigate to see those who actually came, whether they were policemen or the National Security or whatever they came.
But I'm asking so you are denying that they are your members?
I'm not denying anything.
No, but you say you don't know them.
Yes, because all my men are not masked.
So by extension, you are denying that they are your members?
Don't put words in my mouth. I'm telling you that my men are not masked. There are policemen here. You can see from police, military, nobody is masked. If there were people who were masked, where are they from? Are they from the police? Are they from the National Security? Are they from any other force? We need to investigate. Is it professional? It depends on the work they are doing.
I drove past the police station and I personally saw masked men in front in police vehicles. So it's strange for me to hear from you that none of your men
what is the maximum?
You know your men cover their faces as if they are ninjas.
We have ninjas. We have the counter-terrorism unity.
So they are they part of this operation?
Usually don't show their face. But I cannot tell you whether they are the people who did that.
With the current composition of your men on the ground, would you say that they are part of them? No, but you say you know your men. So in these people you describe...
When the incident happened, I wasn't there.
But of course, I mean
remember, anybody, any group of people can also mark themselves and come and you understand that? You know that. That's what you have to know.
Now, the Accra Regional Police Commander, George Alex Mensah, has also been reacting to the latest development.
Any investigations. And I wasn't here when the incident happened.
And you say you are going to investigate this matter?
Of course.
I drove past the East Legon
to die a natural death. We need to investigate to see those who actually came, whether they were policemen or from the National Security or wherever they came from.
But I'm asking, is it professional? So you are denying that they are your members?
I'm not denying anything.
No, but you say you don't know them?
Yes, because all my men are not masked.
So by extension, you are denying that they are your members?
You don't put words in my mouth. I'm telling you that my men are not masked. There are policemen here. You can see from police, military, nobody is masked. If there were people who were masked, where are they from? Are they from the police? Are they from the National Security? Are they from any other forces? We need to investigate.
Is it professional for any security official to be masked? Is it professional? Is it allowed?
It depends on the work they are doing.
Okay, I drove past East.
Still live on Joy News today with me, Daniel Daze. There's more after these messages. Still live on Joy News today with me, Daniel Dazi. Now, Joy News is learning that suspended national coordinator for the Ghana School Feeding Program, Dr. Kwame Dunsia, is still at post more than a month after receiving a letter asking him to step aside following a BNI investigation which uncovered fraudulent deals in the running of the school feeding program. More than a month after receiving his letter from the Gender Ministry, he still carries himself as the coordinator. Well, that's according to the Deputy National Coordinator, Gertrude Kwashiga, in an interview with Joy News' Matilda Wemega. She said Dr. Kwame Dunsia still reports to work.
Because you cannot carry instructions for instructions to be adhered to, you understand. So most of the time it's like, we are talking to your management team, your directors, it's like they don't know whom to go to. So we are divided.
I'm a bit confused. If you say there's a bit of division, your directors don't know who to report to or who to take instructions from, who exactly do you mean? He, I know, has been asked to hand over everything to you and stay away until investigations are concluded. Is it the case that he's still at post?
He's still at post as I speak.
So whose office are we in now?
This is my office.
So where is he at the moment?
He is at the other end there. So when you are coming in, you meet his door before mine. Yeah, so this is my office, so I'm still occupying my office. You know, from 14 December last year, 2018, that was the time he has to cease, you know, to become the national coordinator. Yes, but then that has not happened because he's been coming to the office. And finally, on the 8th of January this year, you know, he came to my office, knocked at the door, and greeted me and said, yes, Mrs., how has it been? I said, well, the battle is still for the Lord. We are still managing and handling affairs. He said, yes, I want to tell you that I am back.
Back, have you seen any letter asking him to resume his position as the coordinator?
No, there hasn't been any letter to that effect.
But have you also checked to find out why he's still at post, even though he's been asked to hand over to you?
Yes, of course, I will do that because we are working for the ministry and the minister. So I inform her about it, the chief director, and all of them are aware. But then there hasn't been any letter at all.
But what are they saying?
We are here on political positions, or appointments, I would say, including him as well, Dr. Dunsia. So, of course, if the minister gives instructions, we are under the ministry. So the minister is the overall head. So we have to take instructions from there. You understand? And so, but this one I think is above the minister. So it means that he went to the presidency and then took instructions from there.
Do you know who in any way?
I wouldn't know, please. At all. I don't know.
Meanwhile, some caterers of the school feeding program SFP in Oforikro municipality of the Ashanti region are threatening to withdraw their services over government's failure to pay them for work done. The cooks complain they have not been paid since last term, in addition to discrepancies in payments of amounts due them. The school feeding program, since its introduction over 10 years ago, has been dogged by funding challenges with frequent agitation by caterers. Nana Sensu Mensah has been speaking with some of the aggrieved caterers and now reports.
Save them, please.
Preparation, packaging, and sharing of food to these children come with money and support hands. 40-year-old Cecilia Boateng cooks for Oforikro Municipal Assembly School. She laments over delayed payment for her services she pre-financed last year.
And I said, yeah, Jumano. Says, no, I'm a hotel, me mean to be to our Cassinica. Be to our Cassinica. I want more money, I'm so what would be free and a scanner bar. Yet the aquaco Tiawanka. Says, up to now, maybe Obika almost 6 months. Tell me, scanner is MBT Nipan. Nipan, so sorry, I was saying,
she says, my suppliers are chasing me for their money. Meanwhile, government has not paid me. Now I don't have peace of mind to cook for the children. Government must at least pay the arrears he owes us, so we can pay our suppliers to ensure the smooth running of the school feeding program.
The non-payment of school feeding caterers seems to be a common challenge across the region. The situation, they say, is affecting the nutritional value of the food served to children. The displeased caterers want swift action from government to avert collapse of the program. Janet Adepoku is head of the caterers in Oforikro municipality. She is uncertain about the future of school feeding.
To be honest, allowance in a month, I'm going to high year and a problem back on fire. You face over you second time you face the same problem, and a third time to start. Can be banner, not yatis.
She says our allowances are always delayed. Sometimes we get half payment, and it's not even sufficient to pay our suppliers.
Be any example. They say on next school because they be the police profession.
A class teacher of Oforikro MA Basic School admits teaching and learning will suffer if the program collapses.
It is improving learning. It has improved our enrollment. Most of the children don't come to school with money. Those who come with, on the average, you get children come to school with 1 CD. Those who come with more with 2 CDs. And they come to school from morning till we close. And the child comes to school with just 1 CD, 50 pesos. So it is the feeding that is complementing what we are doing.
Municipal Chief Executive Gloria Timagambra appeals to the caterers to remain patient as government works to address their grievances.
We are going to work with the units in charge of this school feeding program to make sure they pay them timely. In fact, we are not in to frustrate them, but we will do everything possible to make sure that they are paid on time so that they can also serve our children better.
Nana Asensumensa reporting.
Now, the 5-year-old whose arm was amputated as a result of a cutlass wound he sustained at the hands of his stepmother is recovering. New Crystal Health Services Limited at Tema is offering prosthetics and orthotic services to the boy whose hand has been amputated. The P&O unit will therefore be in charge of fabricating a transradial prosthesis for the boy. Here's a Deputy Director of Nursing in charge of the pediatric unit, Ifya Ofori Atakra.
Yes, the child is in our unit. He's at the pediatric ward of the Kipkos Teaching Hospital. He's recovering, but he's traumatized because of what he's gone through. But gradually, he's coming out of the trauma and he's getting better.
So, when he's brought here like this, what happens? I mean, and when is he likely to be discharged from here?
We are not very sure when he'll be discharged. But I know when the wound is healed, then the authorities will take decision on him. He's not going to be discharged till the wound is fully healed. So the authorities will take decision on him whether wherever he has to go to. I'm not sure of that, but he's better. And I know he will recover fully before he leaves the hospital.
Have you had the benefit of interacting with the boy, and how is he doing?
Oh, yes, I have. He's doing so well. He's happy here. He's very comfortable in the hospital. This morning I asked him whether he would like to go home. He said no. He would like to stay in the hospital because we give him whatever he wants. And he's very comfortable with us.
So how has he been reacting? Is he, reacting to the staff and people that visit here and all of that?
Someone trained in a typical village, the way he talks. But gradually we are training him. So before he leaves the hospital, he'll know how to talk to a senior person, he'll know how to respect, and I think that our training will help him a lot.
We also understand that there are marks there are some scars. Is it true on the back?
Yes, there are some scars at the back. I'm not sure whether they are came from wounds that he sustained during caning or whatever, whether it's rashes or whatever, but there are scars at the back, a lot.
Still live on Joy News today with me, Daniel Dazi. Before we go, let's take a few of your comments that you have made on this issue. We posted this on our Facebook wall. I'm going to show you the post in a moment. This is a video of the NDC chairman, Samuel Ofosu-Ampofo, saying the by-election has been turned into a war zone. I'm taking you to a couple of comments you made. Nana Kwabna Safo says, attacked by who? Held hostage by who? If there's war, how come you're able to call the media to grant interviews? How come your opponent is out voting? There are people actually voting. All right. Unnecessary complaints from the NDC chairman. They should just admit defeat and stop creating confusion. Obed Kofi Lepo says. Now, Jacob Obeng says, he laughs and says, Sami JP claims two are dead. Chairman denies this. CNDC propaganda. Yidana Majid says, please, can we review the Talenty by-election? All right. A number of messages there. It's now clear Ofosu-Ampofo and NDC caucus are doing exaggerating commentary of fear and panic, which is a sign of frustration and defeat of their candidates. He goes on there. That was Bobby Big Boss. Kofi Waddle says 2020, Ebese Afghanistan. Those were some of your comments on the issues. Keep them coming. We'll review them in later bulletins. My name is Daniel Daze. Many thanks for joining us. Have a super day.